Hello, welcome back to K-Chat. I'm not going to say the whole thing today. I'll save that for the video. I just wanted to hop on while I'm editing and do a quick little intro for this video. First of all, we are talking about the phrase men are trash, which might be hurtful to some people. We don't mean it in a hurtful way. We're just speaking from our experiences and what the phrase means to us. So yeah, if feel like I should add a trigger warning, we don't talk about, we talk about sexual harassment, and we keep it kind of to a minimum. So, but I just want to give a heads up if that's something you might be triggered by, or if you feel like you're not in the right space to hold this conversation, that's totally fine. Save it for later, come back to it. Yeah. For men, I know that this might be a very uncomfortable situation for you guys. It might be uncomfortable to hear our stories or hear what we think. This is in no way directed at every man. Again, we're speaking from our experiences and just like what has happened to us. And in the end, we do talk about, like, we've had some great experiences with men too. We love men, like, hey. But this is a reality for us, right? And so I encourage men, if you're listening to this, to listen to the whole thing and just with an open mind, right? And share it with your friends. Talk about it with your friends. This is something that's going on, and this is a reality for so many women. And oftentimes it's even like worse, you know? So I would just say, like, you know, open your mind, listen to it, share it with your friends. And if you want to have a discussion about it or a conversation about it, I guess those are the same things, but just reach out to me. And if you don't want to do it publicly, message me. I'm always interested in continuing the conversation. That goes for women as well. If you want to talk about it, if you feel like, I don't know, if you need to vent or share your story with me or just want to talk, in no way you have to. But if you feel called to do that, hit me up. I'm here. So yeah, I do want to mention some of the footage was lost, which kills me. But the full conversation is in audio on podcast platforms. So if you listen to Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, they're there. Check them out if you're interested in hearing the rest of the conversation. Basically, there's kind of a middle chunk that has been cut out of the video because I didn't have the video footage. But what we talk about in that chunk is kind of like the cultural aspect to how men are raised and stuff like that. And also just like the glamorization of toxic behaviors that are taught to men from a young age that also influence this kind of behavior into adulthood, that create trash men. So we do talk about that, and in my opinion, that's like the most important part of the conversation, because I don't want to just blame people for their behavior. I truly believe that people learn behaviors, and there have been a lot of inappropriate behavior that has been taught and complimented or looked up at with men. So I understand that. We all understand that, and we totally empathize with that. On the same note, that gives you no reason to be a trash man. So that's pretty much the gist of the conversation. That's the gist of what is cut out. Again, if you're interested in hearing the whole thing, check it out on any podcast platform. And check us out next Wednesday for another new podcast episode. Bye. Oh, Mondays on YouTube though. If you like to watch the video, check us out on Mondays. If you don't and you like the audio, check us out on Wednesdays. All right, bye.
Welcome back to K-Chat with me, your host, Kayla Morales. We chat all things from love to life to spirituality, health and wellness, and everything in between. This is a space of growth and meaningful connection. And I'm so excited to share this episode with you all, so let's get to chatting. Today's guests are my babies, my sweet friends, Brittany and Nadia. Nadia is back on again as our first reoccurring guest.
Yay!
Yeah. So in in today's episode, we'll be chatting all about the phrase men are trash and ways that toxic behaviors are glamorized and false narratives about love. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yes.
Welcome, Britt and Nadia.
Hello. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you so much. Yes, thanks for being here, and thank you, Nadia, for hosting us.
Oh,
in
yes.
your humble abode.
Namaste.
Do you guys want to like intro yourselves a little bit, real quick?
Sure, why not? Yeah, so I'm Nadia, and that's Brittany.
Great job, honey.
And that's Brittany. we also host a podcast, Drunken Alone. So
Yes.
if you like what you hear on this, then be sure to listen to that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hop on over.
We're really fun.
We're hilarious.
Yeah.
Not really, but
And we actually just did an episode with me on it as well.
Yes.
So if you enjoy this episode, there's a bit of a crossover with me on their podcast. So check it out. Support the crew.
Definitely.
All right.
Awesome.
You guys ready to get into it?
I am so
Yeah, let's
ready.
do it.
I'm gonna get some drink. But
Hey,
yes.
cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
So, all right, let's start with the first question. What was your first impression of men are trash? Like, do you guys remember hearing it for the first
Oh
time?
my god, I would say it all the time.
I heard. I know.
first from Nadia.
I think my first time was with Nadia too. As I was writing that question, I was like, "Who is the first person?"
No, and then I watched her YouTube video titled
Oh.
Men Are Trash.
Yeah.
You don't speak of that.
So Nadia, okay, so you introduced us to it. What was your first impression? Like, why did you pick it up?
Oh god, I think I picked it up from Twitter.
Okay, let me give a preface real quick.
Yeah.
So I just want to preface that as we're talking about this phrase came about on my research from South Africa, and it basically originated in response to the murders and the rape that go on there, which are like rampant. So that's the context we're speaking about this phrase in,
Yeah.
and that's like where we're coming from. Kind of the mistreatment of women, abuse of women, raping of women, murder of women. Okay? Just so that's clear. So yeah, Nadia heard it first on Twitter, but I mean, that's the way we use it too.
Yeah.
Though. We've never used it we use it because men are mistreating us.
Yeah, no, I think like it first came out like I started logging all of the horrible things that would happen to me in college
Me too.
on
actually.
Twitter, and I literally have like I think it's still up there. It's like my pinned
So
tweet.
you
I didn't do
tweeted
it on Twitter.
everything.
I would tweet everything
That happened to you?
that
love
happened to me, but like it would be like what happened to me and like how I reacted to it.
Yeah.
So like I remember like I had like this one story of like, oh, a guy was like totally ignoring me at a party and like we were talking and like I like took one of his shirts that like he gave me and he was like with a bunch of crowd of girls and I just threw it at his face. I'm like, take your fucking clothes back. You idiot. Like, I would do crazy ass shit like that. And I would
Wait, and what would you tweet? Like, this guy
Like,
didn't
men are
touch
trash.
me
I
at
threw
a
my
party,
shirt at
so
him.
I
I let me like, dude, like
I think we have to eventually we're gonna have to distinguish what really like makes men trash.
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we
like,
will. We'll get to there.
yeah, I feel like the small like little things like that's where it came
We're just
from.
warming up here.
Yeah. Like
So you get ready.
no, like that one guy. I had lost my virginity to him. This is like literally when it started. When I was like first starting to have
Oh my
sex.
god, this is the wasted year.
Yes, watch our movie, The Wasted Years, on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
I had lost my virginity to him, and right after he tried to convince me that I was still a virgin, just because he didn't want to be the one to take my virginity.
This is the kind of sick shit we're talking about,
That's
alright?
insane.
And he'd be like, technically, you like lost your virginity the first time that like you gave a blowjob or things like that. I'm like, you were the first time I gave a blowjob. So if that's like the case, then you're still the one that took my virginity.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, well, I just put the tip in and it wasn't the full. I'm like, your entire penis was inside me. Like I lost my virginity. Like we literally had to sit there and have this full-on conversation right after like I became a woman.
What kind of sick gaslighting shit
Dude,
is that? That's
and he
sick.
was so crusty. I'm just gonna like not but we getting into it. This
Wow.
man was below me. I was like looking back and I'm like, how the fuck does this man like treat me like such like anyway.
I honestly feel like that about most men that are trash. Like, I feel like it's never, like, worth treating a woman. Like, women are fucking everything. Like,
We create life on here. Like,
yeah.
children come out.
We out here keeping the world going round. But okay, so that's how our first impression. I think as far as like what it meant to me, at first I didn't really think too much into it. I was just like, yeah, men are trash.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I kind of started to think more about like what that really means and like if I wanted, if it was something I agreed with, and that's kind of why Trash Packed, our other film, like I don't know if you remember that, but I was like kind of worried about like the message it was sending.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But-
I remember we even had that conversation because
Yeah,
we didn't want to make one of our actors uncomfortable. And
yeah,
I remember that we never really had that conversation with him and like
yeah.
how to go about it properly. But-
Yeah, I was worried about that too. But I was worried about releasing it, just generally, just what message that would send to men. But the more I learned about it, and we'll get into it in a few questions, but the more I learned about it, I just realized, like, no, men really are trash.
No,
like, kind of went back on what I was thinking.
No, because, like, think about it. Like, we can't, like, go about our lives without thinking about certain things. Like, every time I, like, go take out the trash, which is, like, such, like a normal task.
Yep.
For, like, most, like, men wouldn't even think about these things. Like, I have to lock my door every time I leave, and I always have my pepper spray, like, on me just to go take the motherfucking trash out.
Yeah.
Every time I get into my car, I have to look and see.
Yeah, you have to check your back
You
seat.
have to
You
check
have to
your-
lock your doors right away.
Right away, and you can't unlock the door from too far of a distance because someone can get
Yeah, exactly. There's levels.
Like, that's what I'm saying, like, there's certain things that are just ingrained in our minds that, like, I had no idea, like, that was, like, men don't think that way. Of
Not
course they don't.
only is it ingrained in our minds, it's constant like anxiety
It's
inducing. Like it's literally you
Yeah.
get scared as you're walking to the trash, or you get scared when you're out for a walk, even during daylight. Like
Yeah.
it's just fucking
Well, the
scary.
thing is, like, I feel like I am not as prepared. But the anxiety doesn't hit me while I'm, like, going out to my car. So, like, it hits me halfway through my walk, and I'm like, fuck, what am I doing? I'm out here alone. And I still have, like, a good 100 feet to get to my car, and I have nothing to protect myself.
And you like jab your key in between
Like,
your fingers.
I just
Open
feel like
that.
an idiot. Like, I'm like, why don't I ever prepare for this? But it's not something I think about until and like, oh my god, the situation I'm in right now is probably not the safest.
Yeah.
No, it's genuinely, it's so awful. But that's why I literally have to sleep next to a taser every night, and I added like a new knife next to me too. Like, I just can't.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Oh, and I don't remember what I was gonna say. Like, even last night, like, we got, like, super drunk, but we didn't even drink that much. And, like, my first, like, I had, like, a very uneasy feeling, like, this morning. I'm like, something could have happened. And, like, you just never know. Like, that's what we mean by, like, men are trash, because it's just, it's like, yes, it's, like, a very blatant statement, and I don't want to say that all men are trash, but it's more of, like, this, like, patriarchal, like, underlying theme that we always have to be conscious of.
Yeah.
That's what
It affects our daily life.
Yeah.
Which, let's get into how do we feel about the phrase. So, all of us have said it. We say it a lot.
Yeah.
But, for me, I know that I've had second thoughts about saying it. Just because I do worry about the message it's sending about men. But the more I've learned about it, the more I've researched it, the more I realize, like, it really shouldn't affect all men. If you're genuinely a good man, this phrase should not mean shit to you. In fact, you can even say this phrase
Yeah.
if it doesn't apply to you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a good man and you feel like you stand for women, then you should understand where we're coming from when we're saying this phrase. And not to mention, I get that it's like a heavy phrase. I get that it's all encompassing, right? It's kind of like a broad generalization. But the point of the phrase was to raise awareness, was to make people feel some certain way about it. It wasn't meant to make men feel good about themselves. So of course you're gonna feel some type of way, but redirect that energy into making change and like standing up for women versus complaining about how your feelings are hurt because
women said 3 words. Like, you know what I mean?
Off. No, you're completely.
It's
Well,
like
it's also
bullshit.
well, this is a chance to prove that this phrase isn't entirely true.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like, proves that, like, if you hear this, don't get upset about it.
Yeah.
Don't get defensive. Just be like, okay, that's what they think, but I'm gonna show them that that's not true. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And, like, I feel like that is, like, something I think people just, like, get very, like, can be easily offended by those types of phrases, because that's not the only phrase out there that, like, hates on a certain group of person, but, like, obviously it doesn't mean every person that is in this group is a horrible person.
No, like, I think, like, I would say, like, the kind of female equivalent to it would be, like, bitches be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, obviously not all girls are crazy, but that's just gaslighting.
Or even, like, saying, like, money over hose, or, like, anything like that. It's like, you guys are saying bullshit over nothing for years. For years. Like, now we have one phrase and you guys are upset. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I never actually, like, in my experience, I've never had, like, a guy be upset about it to me. I don't think, besides my father, but that's a whole different other issue.
I don't think I've said it enough around people or in general for anyone to come at me.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that there's people that, and actually I want to preface this, another preface. I watched another podcast, I'll link it below, called Enjoy the Podcast, where it's 3 guys talking about the same topic, and they were super offended by the quote. And then they got a lot of backlash from their audience. So, but, and I think they're understanding where women are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But initially they were offended, which I understand being offended, but I also think it's like time to be open-minded enough to think, why the fuck are women thinking this way?
Yeah.
What have men done to them? And then open your brain and realize, like, there's a lot of shit going on.
I guarantee if you're offended by that, think back to the first girlfriend you ever had. I guarantee
Yeah, you've done some shit.
did some shit.
I agree.
Like, and then you probably be like, oh yeah, maybe it's fair.
You know,
Fair
I got a little
enough.
No, like, and, like, I just, like, I feel like it's important to just note that, like, women can be, like, fucked up too.
Well,
and
that's
that-
100%.
I was just gonna say,
100%.
like
I've done
bitches,
some fucked up
but like you
shit,
said,
yeah.
bitches be crazy. Like I say that, when people say that, I'm like, I have done some crazy things.
I'm hella crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not
So I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah.
I'm
you know.
crazy.
So it's not like an insult. It's just kind of a
It's just, like, a self-awareness.
awareness.
Yeah. We're just helping you guys be more
Yeah.
self-aware.
It's an awareness slogan. It's not meant to be taken extremely, like,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
But I do think it's meant to provoke change.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
for
the idea. Like, it's not supposed to make y'all feel good about yourselves. Like,
No.
it's supposed to provoke change.
Yeah.
Let's get into our men are trash stories. I'm so excited.
I literally, like,
I have a note. I have a whole ass note about all the shit.
I mean,
men have
it's
ever
been
done
a long time.
to me.
but-
Shall I pull this up? Let's see what
I
it's
know.
called. I think I wrote it for Trash Pact, actually. I, like, wrote out everything. But the first story that comes to mind for me, I'll just jump into my first men are trash, is, I mean, there's multiple, but the 2 that stand out to me the most, where I felt the most offended and I felt the most helpless, were these 2 stories. So one time was at One Oak, here in LA, actually.
One.
One Oak.
I want to go there.
And
It's like an LA staple.
Exactly.
yeah, it's fucking hard to get into. It was a challenge. It honestly challenged my self-confidence.
How did you get
trying to
in?
One of my friends, like, begged. Like, literally begged.
No, it's one of
Unless
those
you know
elitist-
someone, yeah, it's crazy.
Very elitist.
But, okay, so I was at One Oak. It was literally my birthday, too. And I'm dancing, shaking my ass, you know, doing all the things. And this guy comes up on me, which that already is a men are trash thing. I hate it. Don't come up and rub your dick on my ass. Especially if you have a boner. That's just side note.
Yeah.
So he did that, whatever. I go to move away. I go to walk away. Me and my friends are leaving the dance floor.
Mm.
He grabs my arm. And I'm not talking about like a nice,
Oh, I
gentle little
remember
caress.
Yeah.
He literally squeezed my arm as if he's like my man, trying to keep me from walking. And even if it was my man, we would have a problem. But anyways, he squeezes on my arm. I rip my arm away, like aggressively.
Mhm.
And I'm like, all right, that was stressful. That was scary, but I'm away. This guy finds me later, spills his drink on me. It is my birthday. Like, I'm not trying to be wet in someone's drink. I was literally soaked. And like, I think that moment just for me, like, showed that, one, he had no regard for my body. He didn't know me. He didn't even know my name. He hadn't even spoke words to me. And he thought that he had dominion over my body enough to grab me and, like, own me in that way. You know what I mean? And then to come and spill my drink, he was, like, trying to embarrass me. Like, trying to make me feel like shit. Which, I laughed it off. But it was, like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So that's, like, the number one for me. The second one for me was I was at the beach in Fort Lauderdale. And I was with one of my friends. And I'm in a bikini just, like, sunbathing. And this guy comes up to me and his camera is pointed at me. And so as he's coming up, he's like, he said something along the lines, he kind of mumbled it, but it sounded like, can I take a picture? So I was like, no, like, don't take a picture. And I put my hand up because his phone was pointing at me like he was taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks at me like I'm stupid and he goes, no, I don't want a picture of you. Can you take a picture of me? And he literally says it like he's, like, annoyed. Like, and I felt kind of dumb. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, my bad. And as I go to take a picture of him, you know how you see the pictures on the bottom left screen? It was all photos of me. Like, multiple photos of me in my bikini. And I was, like, freaking out. I was like, no, you gotta delete these, like, which at the time, like, obviously I should have deleted them myself, but I was, like, panicked.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I'm thinking, like, on my way to my car, I'm like, is he following me? Like, is he gonna hit me up right before my car? Like, I'm freaking out. I'm just trying to get to my car, get home safe. And then all night, I'm thinking, like, what is he gonna do with those photos? My legs were up. I don't know if my fucking vagina was out. Like, I'm wearing a bikini. Like, anything could have been possible. And I just felt like, I felt really violated. Like, I really felt like shit. And I honestly, before that point, I didn't understand what it felt like to be really violated by a guy. That was the first time. But yeah, men are trash.
No, it's like, there's so many different levels to it, and I feel like
so many levels.
It's crazy, like, hearing that, because there are so many, like, when you just said, let's share our men are trash stories, I was like, geez, I really don't have that many. And then you said all that, and I was like, oh my god, I have countless. I just never think about it.
Yeah, it's become normalized.
Yeah,
it's like
so
behavior that we're, like, expecting because we've just been treated so poorly over the years.
No, and, like, the worst shit is, like, the manipulative shit.
Hell fucking
like,
yeah.
I don't even, like, that's, like, something I don't even want to, like, talk about publicly. Because it's like, it's so bad. But, like, one thing that I think, like, when you're talking about, like, the things that you still think about, that you, like, get anxious, and it's, like, is, like, when it, for me, like, when being a woman in, like, the workplace, like, I just, like, I can't, I'm sorry, because I don't like talking about it, but I'm going to talk about it.
Get into it.
But,
we need to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's important.
And I appreciate it, too. It is a vulnerable topic.
No, yeah, like, I just, like, it's so painful for me to, like, I could get so close in, like, networking and, like, meeting producers. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna work with this really cool producer. Like, and, like, I talk to people about him, and it's like, oh, like, I'm working with this one guy, and he's gonna help me with this. I'm gonna be, like, right underneath him. Ha ha ha. No pun intended.
I love that.
But then, like, they always, like, they make subtle comments. And I think it's those subtle comments that, like, make you so anxious, and then you start to be like, oh my god, am I just being paranoid? But it's like, is you have to follow those instincts, and, like, although something may seem like a really great opportunity, you have to kind of reevaluate it. Like, I was working with this, like, one producer for, like, just, like, a little bit, and he would, like, make comments to me about, like, how he was, like, unhappy in his marriage.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's, like, not something that you would, like, typically say to someone that you barely know.
Yeah, especially at work. It's like, dude, let's
yeah,
just get
like,
this
he
shot
had,
done.
like, literally just met me, and
yeah,
he was, like, talking
especially
to
if you're new. It's not like you guys have been working together for a while, and he was like, my wife is just bothering me today. It's not like that. He's like, did he really just go, like, hey, new girl, my marriage sucks.
No, like, he would just, like,
what's going on with you?
Yeah, like, he would randomly, like, bring it up, like, here and there. And, like, he would talk about his son, and his son was, like, literally older than me. Like, it's just, like, it was so weird. And I was, like, I wasn't getting great vibes, and, like, I was so excited, too. Like, that's, like, the most painful part of it. Like, you think that you're getting so close in your career, and it's, like, okay, I have to take another step back. But the worst, I feel like, was, like, when it happened in an interview, I literally, like, maybe so. Every time I think about it, I want to just punch him straight in the fucking face.
Yeah.
I, like, went in for an interview, and, like, this was, like, COVID times, right? And I had a mask on. So, like, the guy was, like, kind of like showing me around a little bit and like introducing me to everyone. I'm like, oh, okay, they probably like must like really like my resume, like the fact that like he's introducing me to people. Like that doesn't typically happen like when you're in an interview. And then we get to like the CEO and he doesn't even like say hi to me or anything or like literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks at me, he's like, take off your mask, I want to see what you look like. Just like so stone cold like that.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and like in the, like you said, like in the moment you just start panicking. And like the way that like when we say like men are trash is because it's like there's this like weird thing that's ingrained in our brains that we are like it is the male gaze. Like we are there to be like objectified and like we have to cater to that. It's like an automatic reaction which I fucking hate and I need to work on it.
But that's where the panic comes from.
Yeah.
Like you do in the moment feel like you have to do what they ask.
Yeah.
Like, but you feel very uncomfortable and like in the moment you can't really like, what's the word? Articulate it. You don't know like why you're feeling this way. But you're like, oh, I'll just do it because I don't know what to think in this moment.
And the thing is you feel like, oh, if I don't do it, I'm going to be a bitch.
Exactly.
I'm going to be like
I don't want to be rude.
I'm going to be rude. I'm going to be written off. And you just feel like you're inferior. You feel like you have to comply.
Exactly. And I didn't realize like that I reacted poorly because I did take off my mask. But like until I talked to my dad about it, he's like, why did you do that? You should have just left it on. Like that was
Which is so much easier for a guy to say.
It's so much easier.
I would never ever like probably. I mean, I'm not a guy, so I don't know. But I would imagine that they don't feel that sense of panic.
Yeah, they don't
very often.
Yeah. So that and like that wasn't like the worst. Like so like I literally like I take off my mask and he's just staring at me and it felt like literally forever. Like he was just like looking me up and down and like he had this like disgusted look on his face. Like it was just purely like he was like so grossed out by me. Like I felt like a potato sack. Like I literally.
I'm so sorry, Nadia.
And the guy that was showing me around. No, he doesn't say it yet. The CEO of the company was like, "Are you Persian?" And I was like, "No, I'm half Afghan and half Mexican." And like not even like that I need to say that. Like it's none of his fucking business.
That's a huge ass inappropriate thing to ask during an interview. Like asking what your ethnicity is. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
You literally can't ask that.
Exactly. And then like he's like super quiet. Like and I'm just like there like panicking because like I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my god, I totally fucked up. I shouldn't have said that. Like you know what I mean? Like I should have just lied and said I was like I was thinking like I should have just lied and said I was Persian. And then the guy that was showing me around was like, I'm sorry, I thought she was Persian.
Which is so fucked up.
It was like, because it's so cultural background.
Are you serious?
Yeah, cultural background.
No, literally, the guy was like, I'm so sorry, I thought she was Persian.
Yes. And I'm like, that's standing there.
That's sick. Yeah. That means some guy's out there trolling the internet for a Persian girl.
Yeah.
For a Persian, like, girl to work in their job just so they can look at them.
That's weird.
And not to mention, that's actually, like, discrimination. Like, you can't do that in the workplace. Like, that alone is wrong. But then to make a woman feel like shit because she's not a different ethnicity, like what the fuck?
No, yeah, there's like a cultural thing where it's like Afghans are, like Persians look down on Afghans. It's always been like a thing. Like we're not even going to get into that, but it's always been an issue. So I just felt, but like I've never really experienced it because like I'm not super like close with my Afghan culture, so I've never really had to deal with that. But like, this was before the interview started. I had to go through 3 rounds of interviews, and
oh my God.
It was fucking miserable. And I had to bounce the fuck back from it until like I get to. So I went through one guy, and then I went through another guy, and then I finally made it back to that fucking asshole. And the way that he was treating me in the interview was like complete shit. Like he just didn't want to be there. I have never felt so disrespected in like a vulnerable state I was already in. And like he was just like, I skimmed through your resume right now. Like he wasn't even paying attention to like anything I was saying. He's like, I see you're changing a lot of jobs. I don't like that. Like he would literally talk to me like that. And I remember like I blacked out. Like I don't remember like most of it. I just remember like the other guys helping me in the interview because I think it was so obvious that I was gonna start crying. I wanted to start crying so bad. And I remember, like, as soon as I walked into my apartment door, I, like, took off all my clothes and I went straight into the shower.
Oh, Nadia.
I felt, like, so gross and, like, so, like this, like, little gremlin just, like, trying to, like... And, like, men shouldn't make me feel that way. Men don't have the power to make me feel that way. Like, I don't need, like... And it was just, like, in a professional setting. That's why I think that fucked me up even more. Because it's, like, I deal with that shit all the time when I'm dating. Like, I don't need to feel that way when I'm, like, trying to get a job, when I'm already super vulnerable.
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, obviously that was a men are trash kind of, like, situation.
Yeah.
That was racism, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, and I feel like, not to compare the two, because obviously they're two very different big issues, but I think, like, the feeling that we're talking about, at least in my experience, the feeling that we're talking about that we get from men when we feel uncomfortable, to me, is very similar to the feeling I get when someone is making a racist comment or when someone's making me feel a certain way about my, like, ethnicity. So I think they're, like, the triggers are kind of, like, feel the same in my body. But that's fucking bullshit.
Oh, it is. Oh my god.
Britt, what about you?
I know.
What are your men are trash stories? I mean, I would say, there's a lot where, I'll just, like, let me think. Like, I don't know if anything has happened to me professionally, but I feel like it has. But I will say, when I lived in PB in San Diego, oh my god. Like, and the funny thing is I never thought about it until, like, you said your thing, that I was like, oh my god. Every time I walked to work, like, because I had to park, like, kind of down the street because there's parking issues. Like, everyone's always parked there, so it took, like, forever to find a spot, and I would have to, like, walk. And, like, every time, especially, like, oh my god, on, like, Saturdays, like, because it's a party town. Like, every time, I mean, I would get comments from, like, literally maybe 5 comments, like, just walking back. Like, eventually I was just like, okay, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Like, but I would, like, get comments. I remember this one time that was really freaky was, like, when you were talking about the picture. This is, like, weird because, like, literally my boss watched it happen and did nothing. Which, and, like, and the thing is, he just didn't have to say anything either. So the thing is, like, I worked at a surf shop and I was, like, you know, like, you could wear whatever you want and it was, like, hot in summer, so I would always wear shorts or whatever. And I guess, like, while I was, like, you have to, like, bend down to, like, dust the sand off of it or whatever. And I saw, like, I guess this group of guys came by and, like, stopped and took a picture, like, of my, like, ass. Like, and the guy literally, my boss, is, like, literally there watching it and is like, that's weird that he took a picture of you. And I was like, you could have said something. Like, I didn't notice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't you say anything? Like, that was, so, like, I didn't say that to him, but I was like, that's weird. Like, you literally just watched them do it and just didn't think to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
yeah. I feel like that's a good, like, segue, because I think the biggest thing when guys get offended about men are trash and all this nonsense, it's like, okay, you're a good guy, cool. Are you stopping your friends from being the trash guys?
yeah.
Because, like, there's some miscommunication happening here. If there's so much blatant disregard, so much blatant disrespect and mistreatment of women, and you're saying you're a good guy, why is this still happening? Why have you guys not held your friends accountable? And not only just your friends, other men. You guys hold more power. I wish it wasn't true, but you hold more power in certain spaces than we do. So in that situation, why would you not stand up?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially my boss was older. It wasn't like he was like a young guy.
Yeah.
He was like in his 40s, like, and like a nice person. I just like I felt differently about him after that.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a letdown.
that's weird.
No, that's, like, I just don't understand, like, they just, it's more like, I feel like he didn't want to say anything because it's like, when you recognize a problem, it kind of makes you self-reflect a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing about, like, not to talk about my father, but me and my dad always argue about this topic all the time. This is, like, our one thing that we always argue about, and I'll never forget, like, when that shit happened to me, I was, like, literally crying to him.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. That's literally all he said. Like, oh, yeah, like, maybe you're right. Like, his first reaction was, like, when I told him that I had to, like, jump into the shower right away, he literally laughed. I'm like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's just kind of like, it's like their automatic reaction to certain things.
It's because they kind of have, like, blinders on their eyes.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't experienced this kind of, like, behavior or, like, triggering situations that they just literally can't even
empathize.
Yeah.
Which that's the biggest problem, is not being able to empathize with the struggles that women go through. That's
Yeah.
like why we're here. Like, you know?
Yeah, and like I think that's right, like what you said, Nadia. It's like they don't, even if they're like, maybe like a lot of times, like sometimes like if a guy has a daughter, you know, that kind of changes his perspective on things.
Which is also kind of annoying. It's like, yeah, I had a daughter and I changed so much. Like, why were you not changed before that? Why did you not understand that we're all
Who
daughters?
did you have? Who had your daughter?
Yeah.
Why did it change when you
when you met her?
But, like, I will say, like, because I fight with my dad about this all the time, I don't really necessarily even feel that, like, having a daughter, I don't even really think that, like, having a daughter really changes it that much, because, like, I literally went out with my dad for drinks last weekend, and my dad kept saying, like, hoping that he does not listen to this podcast and whoop my ass. But, like, he kept saying, like, this is my world and your mom just lives in it. He kept saying that. And I'm like, how would you feel if my husband said that to me?
Yeah.
And I kept saying that. How would you feel if my husband went around telling the whole world that I'm just living in his world and that he rules over me?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, I would have to see. It would have to depend on how you're treating him. On how, I'm like, why the
On how you're treating him.
It's my problem. It's I'm the one that's the shame a wife or whatever the fuck
That's
it is.
difficult though, but that's like also, it's like a culture thing, I think, with your dad.
It
like,
is, yeah. I don't have
because,
immigrant
like,
parents.
I mean, obviously they're different people, but
Yeah.
like, I feel like, my dad just grew up in Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know, it's just like, yes, there is that patriarchy either way, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But in certain cultures, like, you were telling me about your dad's culture, and it's just like, it seems like he was progressive for try to wake up, you know what I mean? Like I said, it's not really your fault if you don't notice it at the time, but like a lot of things, even like when I realize something, like in the moment, sometimes I, like the next day I'll be like thinking about it, like, dang, actually that was wrong, like, and I should have done something, and in the moment I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But like, take those thoughts that you have and like use them to make yourself more aware.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like, I mean, it goes for anything that you might have witnessed or whatever, but it's also not weird for like, you know, it's not weird to like go up to somebody and stop something from happening, even if you never, like, it's, I know it might be uncomfortable or something like that, but it really is just those things that like make women believe that not all men are bad. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like bartender Ben, what he did the other day.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to
He
bartender
like
Ben.
saved me.
That's the thing, is I feel like we all have stories. Obviously, we have a ton of trash stories.
Yeah.
But we have stories of guys sticking up for us too, or making us feel comfortable.
Of course.
And I feel like, yeah, being an upstander, standing up when you see something wrong going on, and even if it's something like Brittany was saying, like if you didn't in the moment, if it's a friend, like check on them later. Be like, yo, I had to think about this a little, but I realized this wasn't cool. Like, next time maybe you should do this, or this came off like this. Don't do that. You kind of seems like a trash guy, like, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be easy. I would say, like, remind yourself that if you're feeling uncomfortable just by standing up for a woman, imagine how uncomfortable she feels by being in the situation that she's in.
Boom.
Yeah.
That was good.
I had to emphasize it. Yeah. And honestly, this is gonna make you feel like a better person.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I remember this one time, like when I never do things like this. Also, I'm not very aware of my surroundings. I've picked that up about myself. But I do remember this one time I was at this bar and like I saw this girl who like was not okay, and like there was this guy like almost like holding her up, and I like go over, she's like in line at the bathroom or something, and I was just like, hey, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And then I was like, are you sure? Like, where are your friends? And then her friends like came and were like, oh my god, thank god you found her, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my god, if I like the guy could have taken her, you know what I mean? So it's like, and like even though the girl wasn't conscious, and I will never hear a thank you from it, like it doesn't really matter. Like I felt so good about myself in that moment, and all I did was ask if she was okay.
Yeah.
And like that stalled whatever was happening long enough for her friends to find her. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's like, you just never know. You never know, like, you could really change a person's life. Like, that girl could have been, like,
For
kidnapped.
sure. Yeah.
She might have, you know, or killed. Like, you don't know. So it's like, I could have saved that girl's life.
Yeah.
And all I did was ask her one question.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know.
And I want to mention that, like, obviously we've been talking about women, but, like, the whole men are trash thing affects, like, the LGBTQ plus community as well. It affects, like, all of us, honestly. And so I just wanted to mention that real quick. Do you have anything else to add, Nadia?
No,
You good?
I think I'm good.
All right.
I think
Thanks,
I'm
guys, for doing
Thank
this.
you.
with me.
Oh, this was a
Yeah.
cleansing talk.
It
I
was.
actually feel like I got a lot out.
Yeah, I know.
I
Same.
feel good.
I didn't know all this was in me.
Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you at?
Oh, yes. Well, I feel like our main one y'all should follow is Raaw Media.
RAAW.
2 A's.
Yes,
Because
2
we're
A's.
raw.
Extra.
Extra raw.
Extra raw. And
yes.
listen to Drunk and Alone.
And listen to Drunk and Alone. And, you know,
Yeah. Also, whatever _ Nadia, if you want to hit that too. Might as well follow.
Brittany _ Burkett _
Hey,
So creative.
Yeah, super creative, I know. But no, just check us out. Check out what we're doing. We always have new stuff coming out at Raaw Media, and we're just really excited for that. So
Yeah.
Yay.
And now we're teaming up together.
Yes!
And we're working together on our podcast, so you guys might hear more from Brittany and Nadia.
Yay!
But yes, thank you all for listening.
Thank you for having us.
And that's it. Bye.
Bye.